2017 was the year Ridley Scott's follow-up to the highly debated Alien prequel, Prometheus, was released, Alien Covenant, and oh boy has the debating and bickering and bitching continued. If you hated Prometheus, then you enjoyed this movie for being somewhat of an actual Alien movie. If you loved Prometheus, then you didn't like this movie for not continuing the heavy sci-fi angle, mostly of putting your own pieces together. Or you hated both movies, or you loved both movies. But now that a few months has passed since its release and the Blu-ray just dropped, we can sit back and have some reflection. Now that most critics, me included, can see if our opinion's still fair since our initial reviews where we either bitched about it, praised it, ranted about it, this video is going to explore the good, the bad, and the Ridley.
Who, why, when? Did you ever think about that?
No.
Exactly. So then, it's amazing, huh?
Now I'm going to do something that I didn't really do in my review. I'm actually going to talk about what I liked about this movie. As a filmmaker myself, there's things that I see in a different light. Rather than just saying I hated it, there are things that I see from a behind-the-scenes standpoint that give me a different opinion than it sucked. Well, it did suck. Fucking Alien looked as good as it did in AVP.
I think they cooked it, put an orange in his mouth with crackling on his back, frankly, when they did Alien vs. Predator. Yikes.
I made 2 discussion videos based on Covenant. I couldn't stop talking about it for a while. See, unlike Transformers 5 where it's just rotten to the core, this Alien movie just has like all these conflicting qualities. Ridley Scott is too experienced to just make trash, but he's just sort of out of touch of knowing what audiences want. Mainly his own. As much as I found this movie frustrating with dumb characters and just flat out continuity dodging, I really dug the twist ending, and it actually annoyed me how much I liked it. Had the movie just ended with Daniels and Kenny Powers just going in a cryo sleep and then the Covenant heads off to the other planet, I would have been done with anything that followed because this movie would have just been like a nothing adventure that happens to happen before the Alien original. But the whole robot switcheroo and David vomiting up facehugger embryos, I was like, shit, okay, now I gotta see where this goes. In a perfect world, the next planet will secretly be LV-426, David will kill the whole colony with facehuggers, and some random engineered donut ship will arrive and then get raped, and will sit in a chair for a few thousands of years. And also, like I said in my review, I really liked the David and Walter storyline, but just felt like it would have been better in its own original film. And now the other scene that I liked upon rewatch is when the xenomorph bursts out of that guy for the first time, and it and David both raise their arms, and like the music is really beautiful, but we're looking at these 2 monsters bonding over a corpse. And that's a scene I sort of like, and I have to say sort of, because even though I like that moment, I have to hate the fact that the chest burster looks like stick figure version of the Alien. Like James Cameron's chest burster had arms. Did anyone see that movie? Aliens? I heard it's overrated. Now, let's talk about old mate Ridley. Recently it hit the internet, although not confirmed, that 20th Century Fox is reassessing the Alien franchise after Covenant's poor box office results. Now this is interesting. For the most part, it's actually because of Ridley that the Alien franchise is relevant again. Alien vs. Predator came out to poor reviews, but it made some money, and then Alien vs. Predator Requiem came out and no one really cared. I didn't mind it. It won points for me for bringing back the gore and the Predator medical kit. Also, it reminded me of Gremlins. And so Alien hasn't been anything since the 4th movie, really. AVP added to the lore, but like some people like it, others don't. And to me, aliens and predators can fight for any reason. They don't need to be in a pyramid in the Antarctics. Also, why was there Egyptians living in Antarctica? Did people live there back in Aztec times? I didn't bother researching it, but doesn't sound like it makes sense. Let me know in the comments if stone pyramids could be built in icy places. But Alien was back. Ridley saw the franchise was going nowhere and he wanted to return to waterboard some life back into it. Oh boy, finding out about the space jockey and the cargo full of xenomorph eggs. Can't wait to find out about that mystery. Those eggs are grown by the robot created by the company that sent these space truckers to investigate. It's like the universe takes place in your backyard and you are the Nostromo crew. Wayland Yutani are your parents, and the xenomorph is like that piece of shit cat that someone else owns, but it keeps coming back into your yard because your parents feed it sometimes and now it thinks it owns the place. And this is what's been sparking the controversy. This fossilized space jockey in the original Alien movie is more connected to humans than we knew. Not so alien anymore. Now to be fair, an Avatar CGI movie about this thing's race is probably the weirdest idea for a movie, although that's what a real backstory to this thing would be. However, Prometheus would give us a different origin. Already we have a movie that tells us that this weird elephant thing It's just a guy in a suit, so that was one thing to get used to. But then at the end we get this giant kraken rapist who face fucks this pale guy, and then he shits out the blue dolphin. That looks like an alien knockoff keyring, but still very much resembles an alien. Then in Covenant there was like this backstep where Ridley changed his mind to David made the alien. Now in David's creepy workshop there's like a bunch of trial runs. The black goo like makes stuff into violent stuff, and mixing with human DNA he gives you the AVP aliens, which has an egg, but somehow plant nipples shoot out spores or dust. Then later on you crap out white aliens that don't have an egg or facehugger process. I'm sorry, but that just doesn't make sense. This thing called the necromorph was just an excuse to have a different type of alien, but it doesn't make any sense. Plant dust and facehuggers, that is such a stretch to have the same result follow. It was probably just another excuse for NECA to make another toy, which will have 50 variants later. This brings me to my next topic. Who's to blame? In my alien discussion videos, people have blamed 20th Century Fox for pressuring Ridley to have more alien stuff in these movies, which on the surface makes sense, especially if they are trying to rework the Alien franchise behind his back while he's working on his other films, you know, before he starts Alien Awakening. Didn't make money, so they want to restrict him to just one more prequel. Then they want to do like a Force Awakens style soft reboot. Fox would be so easy to blame. We live in a world where so many studios are just fucking up franchises left, right and center. Sony, they just keep hitting them home runs. Warner Brothers and the DC movies, they just keep like falling on their face. Except for Wonder Woman. Felt like the first heartbeat in that universe. And don't even listen to James Cameron. Fuck does he know about female characters? Bloody bigot. Disney won't let the Pirates of the Caribbean franchise die. But there is also something else about 20th Century Fox that I want to point out. They once had the track record of putting their fingers into their franchises.
I'll do the fingering.
X-Men was going downhill, Fantastic Four was all over the place. People hated Daredevil because of Affleck, but now they forgot that they did and then they love him again. But now they have really changed their tune. Two big reasons that prove that Fox are starting to take risks. Deadpool and Logan. No one is making big budget movies like that. They are R-rated game changers. Well, there is Dredd, but none of you can't saw it in the cinema, so it didn't make any money and won't get the well-deserved sequel it deserves. Go watch Dredd if you haven't. Buy it on Blu-ray and then watch it. Dredd is so fucking awesome. It's like the RoboCop remake you actually wanted. Anyway, back to Fox. They are now taking chances, and you can look at Prometheus for that. Ridley wanted to make an Alien prequel with no alien in it, and they let him. Any other studio would say, we need the alien in the first 30 minutes, or something that looks like it. So I'm not going to point any fingers at Fox over this alien situation. Now let's have a closer look at Ridley. People who watched my Covenant review thought I was just hanging shit on him for 8 minutes. I have the respect for Ridley Scott to watch interviews of him, getting his point of view, and see what he's going for. I don't just jump on the hype train, like Wonder Woman. Then when someone I highly respect like James Cameron has an unfavorable opinion of it, I don't shit all over him because of the train I'm on. I mean, have you seen Aliens, by the way? Yeah. Terminator 2? Buddy, take a seat, old man. 2017, bitch. Now, something I want to note about Ridley Scott is the amount of power that he has in Hollywood, which he rightfully has earned. Alien made people look to the stars and say, fuck that. Blade Runner was ahead of its time. Bunch of Oscar-winning movies like Gladiator and Black Hawk Down. He's also been knighted by the Queen. He has certainly accomplished great things. But in recent days, he's been kind of all over the shop with such hits like Robin Hood that just looks like Gladiator. And Exodus, Gods and Kings, starring white people on green screens. And The Martian. It's Matt Damon stuck in space. Again, all movies that don't matter if they're not your cup of tea. However, if you start putting your fingers in the alien mythos,
I'll do the fingering.
That's a high risk and could easily not feel pleasant. Now, for the most part, it seems that Ridley wanted to dig the Alien franchise out of the ground because it's what got him started, and he could bring some sci-fi credibility back to it. However, with that comes his own agenda. David. Ridley wanted to dance around the themes of artificial intelligence and creations versus creators, especially with making a sequel to Blade Runner. Now, something I didn't know until recently, I've only seen Blade Runner 1.5 times, so I haven't explored all of the different versions or delved into its subtext, but apparently the twist, depending on which version you watch, is that Harrison Ford, who plays a certain type of cop called a Blade Runner, hunts robots called replicants, androids designed to look like humans that can do all the dirty jobs, and that the real humans can then get fat and do nothing. Scott's apparent vision of the ending is that Harrison Ford is a robot, and apparently Harrison Ford hates that ending the lead actor. And also, apparently they are still arguing about it for Blade Runner 2. So at the moment, Ridley has some sort of robots who think they are normal humans fetish. And it seems to be going on with this new Blade Runner, and it's also spilling into the Alien franchise. In Covenant, we have David returning, who is more crazy and into creating, and they introduce Walter, who looks identical to David, and we can play around with some same person, different ideology themes. Remember when I said the David and Walter story should have been its own movie? How about a Blade Runner sequel? Or maybe the Blade Runner sequel? Unless Ridley's overall plan is to have the whole Alien franchise link up to Blade Runner, like he wanted to connect his own universes. Now that could work. This brings me back to 20th Century Fox, and how they are taking a risk letting Scott redo the Alien origin. Two factors here. One, all these ideas can only come from Ridley, who enjoys bouncing around with religious ideologies as well as technology and robotics. And two, just like George Lucas, he's too much of a legend for creating this franchise. And who's going to question him when he comes up with these wacky ideas? The man made Alien. He wants to make another. Whatever he comes up with, you're going to trust him. There is sometimes that the creator can be questioned. Like, Mr. Scott, why do these necromorphs come out of plant spores when they don't have their own version of a face hugger? Mr. Scott, why does this big rapey squid have teeth when it's never going to eat ever? Mr. Scott, in the original movie, they have 4x3 analog monitors. Why does the story set before all that have holograms? And along with that, the black goo. Now I realize that the black goo now means nothing. It's purely a plot device to get you out of a jam. Think of it this way. Let's put the black goo in context. This is a big black dildo. This dildo can turn worms into snakes. When ingested, it makes you have this little thing in your eye, and then when you come into a lady, she will give birth to a giant squid that rapes this guy, and then he will give birth to a small blue dolphin kid. Also, this dildo can wipe out a whole town of engineers. It can destroy their clothes, but it can't melt off this robot's finger. This dildo can create and destroy. Beware the dildo, or it will do the fingering.
I'll do the fingering.
This is meant to be sci-fi. Sci-fi needs to be heavily thought out. Sci-fi just can't be juggled with every next film. And this isn't down to the fact that I'm just an idiot fanboy who doesn't get it. Even Quentin Tarantino and James Cameron, two of the greats, can have issues with it.
It was actually kind of cool to see such a big deal, serious science fiction epic by a director like Ridley Scott.
Right.
But there was part of it I actually did like, and overall the experience was really cool having been in it.
Look, I thought that Alien Covenant was a great ride. It was beautiful. I love Ridley's films. I love his filmmaking.
There was also a lot of dumb stuff in it, though. When it got to the point where they're on another planet, and then a space cobra literally shows up. Yeah. Opens up its hood. Yeah. And the guy who's in charge of alien creatures goes, "Hey, little fella, how you doing?" Yeah.
It's not a film that I would have made. I don't, I hope I'm not spoiling this for anybody, but I don't like films where you invest in a character and then they get sort of, destroyed at the end. So it's not, I would not have made that film. I can't comment on where Ridley's going with it.
So in closing, I want to say this. Apparently Fox are only giving Ridley one more prequel to wrap it up. And I'm actually glad about that. That's the prequel problem. No one wants to sit through 6 movies waiting for it to link up to the original. Especially when the original is meant to take place over 10,000 years after the events of these movies, so this thing can get fossilized in a chair. These movies have their own good moments and their bad moments, but I'll never be able to watch the original Alien and see the echoes of David's storyline. Just like how I can't watch the original Star Wars movies and see this little bitchy, or older bitchy, Anakin in this Darth Vader suit. But also on top of that, I said I liked Covenant's twist ending, so I'll probably be back in the cinema to see what happens with that. Don't know if I'll be disappointed again, and I don't know if all this head scratching will be worth it in the end, but until then, Aliens was better than Alien. Alien has fuck all sci-fi in it, and James Cameron's a genius.
His name is James Cameron, the bravest pioneer. No budget too steep, no sea too deep. Who's that? It's him, James Cameron.